I never imagined I'd face a home invasion in my peaceful suburban community, but clearly I underestimated the influence of our homeowners association president. Allow me to share the story of when Karen Matthews, the HOA president, also claimed my house as her domain. I'd been living in Oakwood Estates for roughly 3 years. It was a lovely neighborhood, featuring perfectly maintained lawns, spotless sidewalks, and a homeowners association that applied every regulation with strict discipline. Most homeowners adhered to the rules without issue, but I'd clashed with Karen a few times over small violations, such as leaving my garbage bin out for 6 extra hours or choosing flowers not listed on the permitted plant guide. Nothing could have prepared me for the events of last weekend, however. It all began with a minor dispute regarding my recently added solar panels. I'd secured all necessary city permits and submitted the required documents to the HOA Architectural Review Board. That board, made up of 3 sensible individuals who weren't Karen, had granted their approval. Karen, though, had been away on vacation during the decision and came back to find my roof adorned with modern black panels that evidently clashed with her personal taste. I was working remotely on Friday when a forceful knocking echoed from my front door. I instantly recognized the insistent, quick rhythm. Karen possessed a signature knock, one that demanded immediate attention as if she were someone of great significance. I exhaled deeply, saved my progress, and walked to the door, bracing myself mentally for yet another trivial argument. "Those panels must be removed right away," Karen declared, the instant I opened the door. She stood there in her neat beige pantsuit, her blonde bob impeccably arranged, appearing as though she'd stepped directly from a professional real estate portrait. She skipped any pleasantries and dove right into her orders. I inhaled steadily and responded politely. "Good morning to you as well, Karen. The architectural committee has approved my solar setup. I can show you the documentation if you'd like." Karen's eyes squinted as she folded her arms. "Well, I did not approve them, and as president, my word is final." The committee aired. "Those panels are ugly and are lowering property values." Her tone carried that commanding quality she relied on, as though her role bestowed official authority upon her. "That's not how the process actually functions," I answered, maintaining composure even as irritation built inside me. "The bylaws specify that committee rulings are binding unless challenged within 10 days. It's now been 3 weeks since the approval." Karen's cheeks reddened a bit. "I was away on vacation. That deadline doesn't count when the president is absent. I must examine your roof from the inside to record the infraction." I nearly chuckled at how ridiculous it sounded. "I'm not allowing you inside my home to check my roof. That's not going to happen, and it's not in our bylaws." "We'll see about that," she replied menacingly. "Look for an official violation letter by Monday." She pivoted sharply and strode down my path, her phone already out, likely contacting her supporters on the board. I shut the door, shook my head in disbelief, and went back to my work. I assumed the matter was settled. I was mistaken. Saturday arrived, and I had arranged to join friends for lunch. I showered, changed clothes, and departed around 11:30. I was away for only about 2 hours. Upon returning, I instantly felt that something was amiss. Perhaps it was instinct or faint clues I picked up unconsciously, but an unease settled over me as I neared my front door. Once inside, the sensation grew stronger. An unfamiliar floral perfume lingered in the air. I stopped dead in the foyer, straining to hear anything unusual. That's when faint noises came from upstairs. My pulse quickened as I silently retrieved my phone, prepared to dial emergency services. I thought about exiting right away, but I needed confirmation it wasn't just paranoia. I crept toward the staircase and called out, "Hello, is someone there?" The sound ceased suddenly, replaced by footsteps approaching the stairs. And there she appeared, Karen, at the top of my staircase, holding a camera, showing no remorse for being discovered in my house uninvited. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" I shouted, a blend of astonishment and fury in my voice. Karen came down the stairs as though she belonged there completely. "As HOA president, it's my duty to probe violations. You denied the inspection, so I needed to gather evidence of the unauthorized changes personally." I was stunned by what I was hearing. The sheer nerve was astonishing. You broke into my home. That's against the law. How did you even enter? She brushed it off casually as she reached the bottom step. I didn't break anything. I used the spare key from the association's lockbox. All board members have access for emergencies. My mouth nearly dropped open. The association did keep a lockbox with keys for real crises, like plumbing issues affecting neighboring properties. It was intended for professionals like repair crews, not for the HOA president to perform unapproved entries. This isn't an emergency, I stated, fighting to stay calm as I took out my phone again. What you've done amounts to breaking. I'm contacting the police. Karen's assured demeanor wavered for a moment, but she regained it swiftly. Don't be absurd. I'm an authorized representative of the HOA. I have every authority to check properties for infractions. No, you most certainly do not. I shot back as I punched in 911. That's not how any of this operates. While I described the intrusion to the dispatcher, Karen's attitude shifted noticeably. The fact that I was genuinely summoning the police appeared to pierce her shield of self-importance. She started collecting her belongings, grumbling about difficult homeowners and how I was exaggerating the whole affair. I need you to remain exactly where you are, I instructed her sternly. The police are coming. This is ridiculous, she snapped, her voice escalating with righteous anger. I'm the HOA president. I was fulfilling my responsibilities. Entering someone's house illegally is not an HOA responsibility, I countered. It's a crime. The police showed up remarkably fast. 2 officers paid close attention as I detailed what happened, while Karen kept cutting in with her own account, claiming she possessed the power as HOA president to access any residence in the neighborhood. The male officer appeared more and more confused as she talked, while the female officer kept a neutral, professional expression. Ma'am, the female officer eventually said, directing her words at Karen. Serving on an HOA board does not give you legal permission to enter private homes without the owner's consent or a warrant. But the association bylaws explicitly allow. Karen started in a patronizing manner. No HOA bylaw overrides state laws on breaking. The officer cut in decisively. Using a key for an unauthorized purpose like this still constitutes unlawful entry. I presented the officers with footage from my front door security cameras, which plainly captured Karen testing multiple keys until one opened the lock. I hadn't even realized the cameras existed until then. The previous owner had set them up, and I'd never gotten around to verifying if they functioned. Fortunately, they did. The officers looked at each other after watching the video. Ma'am, the male officer said to Karen, please turn around and put your hands behind your back. Karen's face went pale. You can't possibly be serious. Are you arresting me? Do you have any idea who I am in this neighborhood? Yes, ma'am. We're placing you under arrest for breaking, he affirmed as he applied the handcuffs. Your role in the community doesn't put you above the law. As they informed Karen of her rights, her face shifted through stages of shock, fury, and eventually dread. The gravity of her predicament was at last hitting home. This wasn't just another local dispute she could intimidate her way out of. This was a criminal matter with actual repercussions. They escorted Karen to the patrol car as neighbors watched from windows and porches, attracted by the unusual sight of police in our typically tranquil area. I provided my full statement to the officers, supplied copies of the camera recordings, and promised to visit the station later for additional forms. 3 days later, got an email about an urgent HOA board meeting. It mentioned recent events demanding prompt discussion as the cause. I showed up, along with almost every resident in the development. Word of Karen's arrest had traveled quickly. The board's vice president opened the meeting and wasted no time tackling the main issue. As most of you are aware, Karen Matthews was arrested on Saturday for unlawfully entering a homeowner's residence. She faces charges of breaking and has been released on bail until her court date. Whispers spread through the crowd as he went on. The board has gathered to deal with this grave violation of trust and to decide by vote if Ms. Matthews should remain as president. Karen sat rigidly in the front row, her normally flawless look a bit rumpled. When offered a chance to speak, She rose and faced the attendees, obviously anticipating backing. "This entire situation has been completely overblown," she declared, her voice shaking a little as she tried to project confidence. "I was merely carrying out my obligations to protect our property values and uphold community rules. The keys exist for board access, not for entering homes without consent," a voice shouted from the rear. Karen's cheeks reddened. "I've given 5 years of service to this neighborhood. I've maintained its perfection. This is my reward for all that effort." The vote was overwhelmingly one-sided. Karen was ousted from her presidency and removed from the board altogether. When the outcome was revealed, Karen's expression twisted in astonishment and denial. She snatched her purse and rose suddenly. "You'll be sorry for this," she warned, her voice quaking with anger and embarrassment. "This place will crumble without my guidance." She headed for the door, but stopped when the vice president spoke up behind her. "Oh, and Karen, the board has also decided to seek legal recourse to recoup the $20,000 the association must now spend on attorney costs and a full overhaul of the lockbox setup." He waited for it to register. "We further agreed to forward all details of your improper use of the emergency keys to the district attorney's office." Karen halted, her hand gripping the door handle. For maybe the first time since I'd met her, she had nothing to say. The blood left her face as the monetary and judicial consequences truly hit her. Without uttering another syllable, she shoved the door open and vanished into the evening, leaving a room of residents who were already starting to talk about building a kinder, more lawful HOA leadership.